Hey everyone, Matt Tractor Guy's Garage here. And, well, the old red truck is gonna go under some surgery today. Just don't worry, it's just a minor removal and replacement. As some of you may know, this is my buddy Noah's truck. And it's been having an issue recently where basically the truck runs and drives still, but it really has a bunch of issues accelerating and just even driving around, basically. And doing all kinds of stuff, and we thought it might have been a fuel issue, so he did some work on that. We thought it might have been a ignition issue, so we replaced the distributor and the coil and just about everything else you can imagine in the ignition system, all of which proved to not seem to solve the problem. However, as you're driving it, it really starts to feel like the ignition's cutting out. And that's honestly about the best way I can describe it, is it feels like the ignition's cutting out. It feels like you're sitting there and screwing with the key, shutting it on and off sometimes, or it feels like it's just otherwise not really running right. If I can get the hood to open here. Kind of hard when you have cold hands to get this hood open. There we go. All right, we'll spin you around here. Is a system that Ford devised back, honestly, this dates back into the 70s of the DuraSpark era, which is essentially Ford's way to get rid of points in a distributor. This is a 1984 model truck, so this does not have DuraSpark. However, it has the next generation, which was what Ford called their TFI ignition. I believe that stands for like thick film integrated or something fancy or other, but nothing we need to worry about. Basically, this is a way to control the ignition via computer, as opposed to DuraSpark just replaced the points but still used a vacuum advance. This actually has no vacuum advance, and it does it all with the distributor controlling itself. When they work pretty good. But like we're having here, we've replaced some parts on it, and it still seems to be having an issue. We don't know if the computer is actually bad. It's kind of acting like it. We don't know a bunch of the other stuff with this to know one way or the other what the issue is. So I think we're at the point where we're gonna try to just fix all this in one shot with one of these babies right here. This is an HEI conversion distributor. We got this off Amazon for I think like 90 bucks, if that, maybe 80-90 bucks, shipped to the door. And what this is gonna do is replace the whole distributor, the computer, all of that. It's a little more rudimentary of a system because this does not have a way to, this is essentially just an electronically controlled mechanical distributor. Still has the vacuum points, or vacuum adjustment for the points, but it is by far, in my opinion, especially for a truck like this, a way better way to go. It's much simpler, it's much more reliable. This is what GM calls HEI, and it is something that was tried and true with GM, and I'm a diehard Ford guy, but I'll be honest, GM HEIs, in my opinion, are far superior to anything Ford put out with the TFIs and all that. Don't get me wrong, these work great when they're working, but I've had issues left and right with these things, and sometimes rather than sitting there chasing your tail for 6 hours, scratching your head, testing it, sometimes this is the better option. So we're going to get that yanked out of there, get the coil and everything yanked out of there, basically just get this all tidied up here. I'm going to label my spark plug wires before we do that, though, to hopefully make this go a little faster. And we're going to rip all this off of there, and I'll bring you back when we've got the distributors out, and we're going to be stabbing this new one in. Alright, well, we're getting ready to yank this distributor out here, and I got the new one here. I'm getting mocked up, and I actually want to use this here as a little bit of a talking point here before I pull this out quick. This distributor, I've currently got it loose. It's just, you see, sitting in there, it's loose, ready to come out. But I have the rotor set to roughly number one cylinder. And this is important because what we're going to do is match up. This is set to number one, and when we go to put this new distributor in, we're going to take cap off, and we're going to try to set this in there such that the rotor is pointing in the same way, roughly, and then we're going to mark that on our cap. Now, in this case, you see this cap. I don't know if you can see it too well. There you go. See, it has number 1 on it right there. So in this case, we would line that distributor up so that way number 1 is where the number 1 position on the cap is. However, it does not matter on this cap where number 1 is. Even though it says it's supposed to be here, it could be here, 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 here. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that when you have the rotor pointed at number 1 and it fires number 1, that this spark plug wire goes to number 1 cylinder. That's all that matters. You can have this turned any which way, and as long as the plugs are in the correct order and you have the rotation of the distributor correct to where it's going to rotate in the same way, no matter where you put this, it's still going to go in the same order and it's still going to go in the same direction. So it does not matter where you put this in there. Now in this case, there is a correct position to put this in, indicated by the number 1, and I'm going to try to duplicate that. However, on this HEI, there is no number 1. I decided to make this one number 1 here, which is going to put the vacuum advance roughly like this, and I have to put then the rotor to roughly this position to get it to line up. But in actuality, I could put it here, I could put it there, I could put it there. It doesn't really matter, so long as when I put the number 1 wire, if I point the rotor right here and I go to take and put the cap on, I know number 1 is right here. That's the only thing that matters. And in this case, since there is no way that it tells you to put this cap on that is number 1 is to any one of these specifically, it doesn't matter. We just get to pick one arbitrarily. I just picked this one because it's the closest to where this one had it originally, and I'm just going to try to keep them as consistent as I can. But in actuality, it really doesn't matter. So what we're going to do now is we're going to rip this distributor out, but watch as we pull up. See how it turns slightly as it came up out of there? We also want to make sure that's your oil pump drive shaft. We want to make sure sometimes it comes with the distributor, sometimes it stays down in the hole there. But in this case, we're going to make sure that we take this and transfer it over to the new distributor, and it just pops off there. You see, this one actually is held in the shaft like they're supposed to be. Oftentimes they fall out of the shaft and they just sit down. So in that case, you just have to go and fish them out and try to line them up in the distributor, or you line them up down in there and then just try to drop it in place. But in this case, now what we're going to do, I'm going to put this on here and I'm going to roughly line up that distributor and drop it in, and we'll bring it back when I got it dropped in. Alright, now you see we got that distributor dropped in there. Now as you see, I can spin this wherever I want to in this whole circle here. It does not matter where I put this vacuum advance. The main thing we're going to do is we're going to put it where it's got plenty of room to pull the hose through. And in this case, we also want to make sure we can get that oil filter off. So sticking it anywhere like this is really not going to be a thing. I don't want to stick it too far over though. So actually, I think I was originally planning on sticking it like this and pointing it kind of out this way. But I think actually what would be better is if I stick it more over here and line it up. I think it'll actually give me some more room if I do it roughly like this. But what we got to do, that doesn't matter in this case, because like I said, there is no number 1 on this cap. All that matters now, as you see, I can rotate this wherever I want. The rotor is still staying in the same place. The only thing that's moving is where number 1 is ending up on this cap. That's the only thing that's changing right now. So what all I've got to do to figure out where I want to put number 1 is just get the cap set on there roughly. Got to line up the notch right there. You can kind of see. We're going to line that up. Might take it a second here to get it to line up. We got to get all these catches held out of the way here. Might have to say, there we go. Got it. And now as you see, we're moving the whole thing. So now we know the rotor's pointing this way. So I can move this wherever I want to move it. And all that's changing is where number 1 is on this cap. So right now, number 1's right here. It's right here now. Nothing's changing down in there. So in this case, all we're going to do is number 1's pointing roughly like this. So I think, let's see, if we point it like that, and we're getting in the way of the fuel pump there. I don't want to do that. If I point it like this, yeah, that's about right. Number 1's right here. Vacuum line's got plenty of room to swing. We're out of the way of the oil filter, out of the way of the dipstick. I think that's a good place for it. So I think we're going to go ahead and lock her down right in here. But we're not going to tighten it down fully. because what we're going to have to do is actually static time this. We're actually going to take and actually what we'll probably do, we could static time this. I think what I'm just going to do is eyeball it, get it pretty close. We'll fire the truck up, and then we'll just time it off of the crank and get it timed in to where we want. In this case, we're going to roughly time it. If this were a factory application, we'd time it to 0 degrees, and then the truck's electronics would take over. In this case, if I had to guess, this truck wants to be at between 6 to 10 degrees before TDC. If I can find it here, I don't know that I quite see it here. It doesn't appear that it's on this diagram, unless I'm missing it. I might be missing it. If I am missing it, I'll post where it is in here. But otherwise, I think it's normally these roughly want to sit at about 10 degrees before TDC. That's a pretty good space to set these and have them run right. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead here. I'm going to get snugged down. I'm going to get a vacuum line run over to the manifold. Thankfully, we got plenty of unused vacuum lines here. This thing was a vacuum mess with all the other stuff it used to have. So we got plenty of unused vacuum ports that we can hook up. I'm going to get the wires all hooked up and get a power wire brought to it. And I'll bring you back when we're getting all that ready to go, and we'll start getting this thing ready to fire up. All right, well, we got the old timing light out here. And we're going to try to time this thing and get her to fire up here. Now, I did verify that I had the coil and everything, or excuse me, the number 1 set to the right position. I actually bumped it over and realized I was off by a, I was 1 cylinder off on my position of the rotor. I must have mixed up when I was taking it out. But right now here, we'll get the timing light hooked up here. And timing light always goes on number 1 here. Goes right around the number 1 wire. Make sure we take the timing light lead so that it doesn't, you know, foul the fan, because that's always fun. But then what we're going to do now here, I'll pick you back up here. We got the timing light here, and what we're going to do is we're going to shoot down into there, and we're going to, once we get it to fire up here, which it should fire up here right away, we're going to shoot down, and we're going to look at the strobing effect and get it timed in to roughly 10 degrees vacuum disconnected. So right now, this is the vacuum line that's going to go to the distributor. I didn't have a normal size piece, but I had some adapters and whatnot. So we're going to use this big honking piece tied into this normal size one just to get it going for now, and we'll get a regular size piece here later on once the store's open. But the other thing, like I said, I had to reclock this, and also you see I kind of rearranged the wires because the way it was going to go back together, the wires weren't the right lengths because of where the new cap places everything. It actually is out farther, and I think it'll work like this, but the wires really do need to be longer, and it really needs a different set of wires. But this will probably make it run. So yeah, without further ado here, I already checked it's out of neutral. I got the key on here, and we'll just jump start here to see if we can get her to go. Alright, now you see it hesitated a little bit there, so that means our timing's probably off. But we can now shoot down in there and see where we're at. And of course, unfortunately, you all probably, I don't know if you'll be able to see what the frame rate, you kind of can. You see that white line there? We're going to line that up with the 10 pointer on that timing, on that little scale plate there. And it's kind of hard to see, unfortunately, in the camera. Unfortunately, the frame rate of the camera really kind of makes this a challenge. So, but I will get timed in here, and I will bring y'all back once we're set. All right, so you see we got our idling here, and if you, I think you can pretty well see that. It's a little blurry, but the if I maybe zoom in here on you, you see I got the marks lined up. That mark is at 10 degrees before top dead center. With the vacuum disconnected and plugged. So you see the vacuum line is plugged off and is not hooked up. That's the way you want to always time things. This is 10 degrees base timing right now. So now what we're going to do, it's running right now, so the obvious, there is a vacuum leak slightly on this, but it's such a small vacuum leak, it's really not causing this thing to run much worse. And if I hook up the vacuum line here, You hear the immediate increase in RPM. That's because now, if you look down, you see we're idling down at probably, I don't know, 20 degrees, maybe a little more, for top dead center. And then it will advance from there as the timing gets more and more, as the engine revs up more and more. But as you see here now, if we give it a rev, really snappy, really quick on the throttle, sounds great. I'm actually going to take and drop the idle down a little bit here because we had to have it revved up so high because of how poorly it was running before. I'm going to actually take and drop that idle down once I can figure out where it is on this carburetor. I kind of forgot. So I'll figure out where that idle is here and I get it dropped down, then I'll bring it back. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and back the idle screws off until this thing idles at about 600 RPM. And I'm not sure if that's exactly 600 RPM or not, but that sounds about right. I think I might bump it up just a little more. That sounds pretty good right there. I'm pretty happy with it. We could actually put a tack on it too to see how we're doing. But I'm going to actually do something here that I haven't done in a long time. If I can find a easy manifold vacuum plug, I think I can take it off right there. I'm going to show you all something that most of y'all have probably never seen before, unless you work on a lot of old cars and you got a lot of old relatives that do. That's a vacuum gauge. It's also a fuel pressure gauge on the bottom. But we're going to hook this up here quick, and we're going to see how this motor's running to get a good idea of kind of where we're at here. So all I do is I just hook it up right there, and then all we got to do is pull a vacuum line off here. Here we just created a vacuum leak, so it's kind of running worse. That's okay, because we're about to see if we can find that line here. Alright, go ahead and get the gauge shoved on there. Alright, and now you see we're drawing about 20 inches of vacuum right in the middle of the normal motor range. That is perfect. And as you can tell here, if we give it a little snap, recovers nice, goes right back into that 20, 21-ish inches of vacuum there. And I'd say this thing's running really good. So I think we're going to go throw the air cleaner back on it here, clean up my mess of all my other stuff, and I think we're going to go take this thing for a drive, and I think this is pretty well good to go. Well, hopefully y'all can kind of see this. Unfortunately, it's going to be kind of hard to shift and drive at the same time, so we're going to try to do the best we can here, but unfortunately I didn't get a video of it before we pulled the distributor out to show you how bad it was, but well, here. Alright, and there y'all go. Just got back from the drive. Thing runs and drives flawlessly. It is, I can't even begin to describe the difference between driving this before and afterwards. It's amazing. Now we just got to get this one driving that good. Because I actually did take it on a drive tonight. For those of you who haven't seen the videos on this, be sure to check the channel out and see those. Actually, I'm currently in the process of filming the last video for this one. I think there's 2 parts out, or they're in the process of coming out. They might not have come out yet, depends on how quickly I get all this edited. I might post this one up first, just because it's a quick, short video. But I'm trying to get this one back to running as good as this thing now does. Because, yeah, it's a night and day difference. This thing before would really struggle to do anything above 55, 60. It would really buck and shake and not like it. I just took it out there and was doing 55, 60 with ease down the 2-lane country roads around here, and it handled it no problem. It accelerates like a dream, just overall drives great. So, yeah, I think this one's wrapped up, and we'll get her back on the road. A few other things got to happen with this one, because it's actually going to, my buddy is actually loaning it to a cousin of his, or an uncle, or I forget exactly who, down state a little bit, and he's going to take care of it and use it for, well, truck things, because, you know, we got a few vehicles around here. So, yeah, got to get it good and ready to go so that way it can head off down there to somebody other than, you know, us who are used to driving an old junky truck around. So, yeah, but just a few other small things. This was the big thing. This really made a massive improvement in it. So, thank y'all for watching. If you have any questions on how I did it or whatnot, I kind of went a little fast through it. So, if there's something I missed or you want me to go over a little better, just drop it down in the comments there, and I'll see if I can answer it. But, anywho, yeah, thank y'all for watching. See you later.